Hey friends. So I had a wonderful session this morning with a client and good friend, and we were talking about this. It reminded me of something that I have also kind of worked with internally for a long time, which is the question or the issue of regret, the feeling of missing an opportunity or of looking back at a time and seeing, thinking, oh, I wish I had done X. I wish I had realized what an opportunity at X was or whatever. And in the kind of, inner work, spiritual practice, self-help world, regret is generally treated as a negative thing because it is. It feels negative, but it's kind of it's almost the kind of thing that regret is one of the most consistently reframed regrets themselves are one of the most consistently reframed things that we work with. We try to take our regrets and reframe them as something positive, and that's vitally important work. We have to do that because regret in and of itself, if we can't sort of explain it away and say, oh, well, actually, it all just worked out the way it needed to, or which is kind of a way of it's almost like faith-based reframing or something. We declare that, but and it's not arbitrary. We say that we know things are working out the way they need to because it is our experience that they are. And yet, there are certain little niggling ones, generally, at least my experience is, there are certain little ones that still kind of that can still gain some traction with me internally, and that I have a hard time shaking. And working with those regrets can be a really significant step. It can really create a kind of movement that is really profound and really powerful, because I like to sort of do both in a way. I like to let myself know that things are working out the way they need to. I have it is evident that every moment of my life, every moment that the universe is a gift. It's the gift that I need right now. It may not feel that way to my mind, body, or psyche. I may think this is a horrible thing that's coming at me, or I may think this is kind of meh. But I know that ultimately every moment that the universe is engaging with me, I'm being given what I need to move on, to evolve. And at the same time, you look back on something that you regret, and I think it's not I think it can be helpful to allow myself to feel that and to go, ouch, I wish I had done that differently. I wish I had stepped up, or whatever the thing is, to let myself feel that. Because what came out in my session today, which I thought was really a kind of beautiful extension of this thought process, is that generally when we are reflecting upon a regret, it's not at a random moment in time, although it may feel random. It may feel like, why is this memory coming back? Why am I beating myself up again for this old thing? But generally there's a logic, there's a even if it's unseen, a logic to when these moments come back to our awareness and we wrestle with regret. And it's often because in some form, that opportunity that feels missed, or that thing that feels like it was done wrong and I want to go back and fix it or whatever, there's still an opportunity right now to do something relevant. In other words, the object of regret is relevant now. And if we can kind of clock that, if we can register that that's the case, then all of a sudden, how we negotiate the regret and what we do with it, is it just a simple matter of reframing it and saying it had to work out this way because I needed to learn, before, when I did this thing that I regret, I didn't yet know X, Y, and Z, which came after, and so these lessons are the things that necessitated this moment of regret, of doing something that we now regret. In other words, can we mark some kind of process or progress subsequent to that moment that kind of like justifies it, or that makes it make sense, that tells us, oh, that's why I needed this. That's why I needed to do this thing that I now regret. Now I see. And a lot of times that'll alleviate it. But what also comes to mind, in the context of today's conversation, it was largely talking about opportunities and missing a chance to step into a certain role or a certain arena in a certain way. But as I kind of reflect on the kinds of things that we generally regret and that I generally regret, there are also moments of hurting other people. Moments where we do something we desperately wish we could take back, but we can't because it's done. And, those are also potentially reframable moments. They're moments that we can look at and go, here's what I learned from that. But there's also just something in the regret itself, that the softness, it's like it softens us. It humbles us to have to see and to remember doing something, saying something, whatever. And that's the part of this process that I'm actually sort of almost advocating for not reframing. Because you could reframe it. You can always reframe it again. There's a kind of like oh, it created a softness in me that is an awareness, that is a sensitivity. There's a form of love there, and that's what the regret evoked. So therefore, that's why it happened, right? But that's almost a step that intellectualizes the feeling, and I think the feeling is the value of that, of this particular brand of regret, the kind of thing that we know, we wish we could have done something different. We truly would go back and do it differently if we could, but we can't. And rather than explain why it needed to happen in order for us to learn something or whatever, actually allowing that feeling to be and acknowledging it, softening ourselves, feels like the honoring of that moment of our lives, because it's giving us an availability to now, an availability to everything we do. To me, it also kind of like starts to soften and dissolve a little bit the automated behavior, even behaviors that are totally unrelated to the thing that happened or the thing that I might regret. Reflecting and getting to that place of softness. It's kind of like what Madeline says: reflect on something sad before practicing or before performing on the piano. Why? Not because some event in my past is necessarily the motivating factor for the music I'm about to make, but because the softness of sadness is an availability. It's a sensitivity to what is coming through right now, and it dissolves some of the kind of like crystallized, I know how to do this, I have a process, it takes, it sort of like opens us up. And so there can be a real gift in the pain of those moments, in the pain of that regret. There can be a real gift still. But that's not so much about reframing it as it is about receiving it. Receiving, not reframing. To just allow a little more of the inherent, poignant, what Chogyam Trungpa called the kind of inherent sadness of an open heart, the inherent brokenheartedness of presence, to allow a little more of that in and just live from there. So that's what showed up today. Thanks, folks. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.